Hey, greetings. Michael Didier here. Thank you for joining me. This is actually the second time I'm recording this session here on my own. It's the recording from our Sabbath class apparently did not take. Got the video, didn't get the audio. Well, shucks. All right, well, let's do this again. 2 weeks ago, we looked at in 36, the tabernacle being created. The boards of the tabernacle, the tent of the tabernacle, all the pieces that we needed for the tabernacle, both the veil and on the inside and the veil on the outside, which was the door to the tabernacle. Next, we did in chapter 37 all the things that were in the tabernacle: the ark, the table, the lampstand, the incense altar. Then we did the things that were outside of the tabernacle: the altar of olah, the altar of rising. On the altar of rising, we're going to have more than just olah offerings, but we're going to have many things that are going to go up to Yehovah, a sweet aroma to his nostrils. We did the laver and we did the court. I say we. Israel's seed is the one that put it together. Next, we talked about, this is last week now, we talked about the creation of the garments that the priests were going to wear. That's pretty much all we talked about in chapter 39. Then we went to 40, and that was the raising of the tabernacle. All of Exodus, we have not had a tabernacle. It says tabernacle of meeting many times. But now, on the first day, first month, second year after we left Egypt, we're finally getting a tabernacle. Up until then, it's been called the tent of meeting, and it's still going to be called the tent of meeting. Isn't that interesting? Very few times does it say the Mishkan, the Ohel of Moed. Mishkan, tabernacle, the tent of meetings. So, it was raised. Yehovah came to dwell with us. What a glorious day that was. We're going to see it was smudged a bit by the death of Aaron's two eldest sons. Very same day. First day, first month, second year after we came out of Egypt. They died on this very day. Isn't that interesting? We'll see that in future weeks. Finally, we covered the olah offering last week. We talked about it coming from the herd. We talked about it coming from the zeon, the sheep and the goats. And we talked about it coming from the birds. We could use 2 pigeons or 2 turtle doves. This week, we're going to start by talking about the mincha. You know what? I try to stay away from this word offering. You'll see I put a lot of red on my page because these are added words to the text. I want to try to avoid those added words. Many times they use the word for something bringing to Yehovah or approaching Yehovah as offering. They add this offering for so many things, and I just want to get away from it. I desire to have us look at only Yehovah's words and develop our understandings on what it actually says, not what is being added to the text. I hope you feel the same way that I do. Well, it starts when anyone offers a grain offering to Yehovah. This is exactly what we're talking about. And I could probably put, and I probably should, put red, let's do it like this, probably should put red here to let us know this is, no, I'm going to do the pink. This is a perverted word. Oh, I guess the whole thing is perverted. Grain offering. Well, let's talk about what this actually says. I put the whole line here in pink just because I want us to develop better understandings about it. Grain. I'm going to say grain. I apologize ahead of time. I want to say mincha. It's a mincha. There are other grains. We're going to bring grain to Yehovah. But this is a mincha that we're going to bring to Yehovah. The mincha is grain. But let's think about this as mincha. I say that because we're going to bring first fruits later on, and they're not going to be mincha. But they're going to be grain. So let's talk about mincha. When anyone brings, okay, this is what we're talking about. Here it is right here. Karav. Karav. That B at the end is soft. He shall bring is what it says. He shall, if anyone brings, if he shall bring a offering, this is a mincha, but the word here after mincha is kor-vawn. Kor-vawn. This is the word that is an offering. Use that as an offering. I have no problem with that. We got to have something for an offering. Mincha is it. It's the present that we're bringing to Yehovah. Remember, when we talk about an offering, I bet I even have it down here. Maybe I don't. I know I'm going to have it maybe in the next verse. It's all about drawing near to Yehovah. We are bringing these offerings, this mincha. You know, there are certain, I hate to say offerings, there are certain minchas, certain shelemim, certain olah that we bring other things with. A mincha can come with that. But we can just bring a mincha offering to Yehovah as well. He says, when anyone brings a mincha kor-vawn to Yehovah, his offering shall be of fine flour. You know what? I'll bet you that mincha offering, let's take a look here. When anyone brings, there's the karav, a kor-vawn, mincha. They want to say meat. A mincha offering unto Yehovah, flour, his offering. So they're using kor-vawn in here twice. That's good. It's a good translation then. Let's go back to the New King James. His offering shall be of fine flour, and he shall pour oil on it and put frankincense on it. He shall bring it to Aaron's sons, the priests, Hamashiachs. It actually says Aaron's seed. Let's take a look. He shall bring it to Aaron's seed. There it is right there, the seed of Aaron. B'nai Aaron. Aaron's seed. He shall bring it to Aaron's seed. The priests, one whom shall take it from his hand of fine flour and oil with all the frankincense, and the priest shall burn it as a memorial on the altar. See, this says an offering made by fire. All it says is a fire. Burn it as a memorial on the altar. A fire. A sweet aroma to Yehovah. Remember, burning things on this altar is all about the sweet aroma that's going up to Yehovah. 3. The rest of the grain offering shall be Aaron's and his seed. It is most holy from Yehovah's fire. This is actually what it's saying. It says, it's most holy of the offerings. Of the offerings to Yehovah made by fire. Are we to understand that the mincha is more holy than the olah? Is it more holy than the shelemim? Is it more holy than the vow? Is it more holy than the voluntary offering? How about the kata'ah, the sin offering? No, that's not what's going on. It is most holy from Yehovah's fire. That's the rest of the grain offering. It's most holy. Okay, the part of it, the handful, went into the memorial, went into the fire. But the rest of it's going to go to Aaron's seed. It's most holy. I like when they say most holy. Kodesh, Kodeshim. Here it is right here. Kodesh, Kodeshim. It doesn't really do it the way it should. There it is. Kodesh, Kodeshim. Holy, holy. Most holy. I like that. This verse describes what goes to Aaron's seed. Really, Aaron and his seed. Verse 4. And if you bring, now look, they translated this correctly, bring a grain offering. Why did they do that? That's the korav. So one up here, they translated korav as offering. Now they're translating it as bring. How come they don't say, if you offer a grain offering? That's what they do. Well, they got it right. I'm glad. If you bring a grain offering, they added a few words, baked in the oven. It shall be unleavened of fine flour mixed with oil, or unleavened wafers anointed with oil. Five. But if your offering is a grain, if thy offering is a grain, this is first person, and as was the last verse. First person, singular, masculine. But if thy offering is a grain, is a mincha, baked in a pan, it shall be of flour unleavened mixed with oil. Thy mincha, thy offering. Here's the offering. Here's the mincha. 6. Thou shalt break it in pieces and pour oil on it. It is a mincha. So it says it's a mincha. If your kor-vawn, if thy kor-vawn is a mincha, baked in a covered pan, it shall be made of fine flour and oil. You shall bring the grain, the mincha, that is made of these things to Yehovah. And when it is presented to the priests, he shall bring it to the altar. And the priest shall take from the grain, the mincha, a memorial portion. This is all that's going to go into the fire. It's really going to, when you bring things to Yehovah, you bring it to his representatives. It's going to go to the priest. You bring silver and gold, it's not going to go in the fire. No sweet aroma from that. It's going to go to the priests. It's going to go into their storerooms. Then the priest shall take from the mincha a memorial portion and burn it on the altar. A fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. A fire, there it is. All the rest is added. And what is left of the mincha shall be Aaron and his sons. It says sons. I want to see what that says. Aaron and his, it says sons. His sons, Aaron and his sons. Aaron and his sons. It is Kadesh Kodashim, from Yehovah's fire. This is what we're talking about. Remember, it's what's saved from the fire. It's most holy, saved from the fire. He says, each of the minchas which ye approach unto Yehovah, none leavened. For you shall not smoke, burn, raise up. This is a word that we're looking at right here, katar. Smoke, raise up. Any leaven or honey in a fire unto Yehovah. It's actually what it's saying. You can see there's lots of added words. As an offering, it doesn't say for, as an offering of first fruits, ye shall bring them unto Yehovah, but they shall not come up for a sweet savor on the altar. Did you hear that? First fruits. Just because it's first fruits, even if it's grain, it's not going to be a mincha necessarily. We're going to bring our first fruits of the barley harvest during Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, on that Sunday that falls during that week, the week that we're having the unleavened bread. We're going to wave that. Well, I don't know if we're going to wave it or if we're going to give it to the priest and he's going to wave it. It may be the priest that's going to wave it before Yehovah. I forget exactly what that was. But there's not going to be a memorial portion that's going to go into the fire, even though it's grain. This is what Yehovah is telling us. First fruits. What kind of first fruits do we bring? How about first fruits of wine? First fruits of grape juice? First fruits of any crop? Apples, oranges, honey, perhaps. Can we bring our first fruits from the ground? First fruits from the flocks? Where does honey fit in? First fruits from the bugs? I'm not sure. Does that come from the ground? Be an interesting thought. But if we bring it to the priests, we bring it to Yehovah. Yes, we do. Here, let's compare this to some of the other instructions we have for what we're supposed to do with our first fruits. Speak to Israel's seed and say to them, when you come into the land which I give to you and reap its harvest, then you shall bring a sheaf of first fruits of your harvest to the priests. Hear that? We're bringing it to the priests. It appears to me it's going to be the priests that are going to wave it before Yehovah. And Yehovah spoke to Aaron, here, I myself have also given you charge of my heave offering, all the holy gifts of Israel's seed. I have given them as a portion to you and thy sons, to thou and thy sons, as an ordinance forever. This shall be thine of the most holy things reserved from fire. Look at, they're still calling it the Kodesh Kodashim, reserved. They said it good there, reserved from the fire. Every offering of theirs, every grain offering, and every sin offering, and every trespass offering, which they render to me, shall be most holy to you, to thou and thy sons. In a most holy place, thou, Aaron, and his sons shall eat it. Every male shall eat it. It shall be holy to you. Now here's the heave offering. This also is yours. The heave. They add the word offering of their gifts and all the wave of Israel's seed. I have given them to thee and to thy sons and daughters with thee as an ordinance forever. Everyone who is clean in your house may eat it. All the best of the oil. Here it is. There's first fruits we're talking about. All the rest of the oil. The best of the new wine, the grain, their fruits, which they offer to Yehovah. I have given them to you. All right, let's move on. And every offering of thy mincha thou shalt season with salt. Thou shalt not allow the salt of the covenant of thy Elohim to be lacking from the mincha. With all thy offerings thou shalt offer salt. With all thy offerings thou shalt offer salt. So apparently this is an addition. Are we going to add salt to our olah? Appears that we may add one of the offerings, isn't it? It says thy offerings here. This is right. He's talking singular, masculine singular. This is kor-vawn, but this kaf says thy offerings. Each man's offerings. With all thy offerings. Oh, that's thy mincha. With all thy offerings, here's offerings. Thou shalt offer salt. There's salt, malah. Here we're talking about the grain that's coming up from our first fruits on Aviv. It says, if you bring a mincha of your first fruits to Yehovah, you shall offer for the grain. Hear this? This is in addition to what we're going to weigh before Yehovah. We can still bring first fruits. But he says, if we want to do that, we're supposed to bring just the grain, not the sheaf, the grain. If you offer the grain of thy first fruits to Yehovah, thou shalt offer for the mincha of thy first fruits green heads of grain. That's Aviv. Aviv grain, roasted in fire, grain beaten from the full head. Different kind of grain. Well, same grain, different kind of presentation, isn't it? From that, the priest then would take a handful, burn it in the fire, and the rest would be the priest's. Roasted in the fire. I wonder what that does. Can't make popcorn out of grain. Roasted. It's roasted somehow. Grain beaten from the full heads. Moving on. And thou shalt put oil on it. Lay frankincense on it. It is a mincha. The priest shall burn the memorial portion. Well, this is what I was just saying. Portion of the beaten grain and part of the oil and all the frankincense of fire to Yehovah. So it says, a fire to Yehovah. That's the mincha. So now we've covered olah, we've covered mincha. The next one we're going to cover is the shelemim. Shelemim. Oh my goodness. So many things are confusing about the shelemim. Do you know that the shelemim is something that we're bringing to Yehovah and we're going to eat it? It's for us. We're bringing Yehovah the fat. The priests are going to get a breast. Priests are going to get a leg. But the rest of it is going to be eaten by us and our family and our friends, all those who are clean. It's got to be eaten the same day. We're going to find out. In the case of a shelemim, Thanksgiving, if it's a vow, if it's a voluntary offering, we have an extra day. That has to do with whether it was the perfect animal or just the whole animal. They're all whole animals. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that right now. Let's look at it. When his offering, there's so much in here that is confusing to us. It says when his offering is a sacrifice of the peace offering. God, why do they add so many words? All it says is this. And if a slaughter. Okay, we were just talking about an olah. Then we talked about a mincha. Now we're talking about a slaughter. And if a slaughter, that's what it says. It's a continuation from the last verse. And if a slaughter, shelemim, a slaughtered shelemim. If his kor-vawn, that's what it says, if his kor-vawn is of the herd, whether male or female, he shall bring, what did they say? Offer, of course they said offer. He shall bring, he shall approach, bring, I think works better, bring it alive and whole before Yehovah's face. You know what? Isn't it important that it says before Yehovah's face? Remember, we said we saw it last week. We were doing the olah. And when we brought the herd, it said we were supposed to kill it before Yehovah. I corrected myself this week. I guess I'm doing it now because I didn't do it in my introduction. But it doesn't say before Yehovah, kill it before Yehovah. It says kill it before Yehovah's face. Isn't that interesting? Then we saw when we talked about the herds, it said kill it before Yehovah's face on the north side of the altar of olah. Kind of gives us a better idea where the face of Yehovah is. Isn't it interesting that the tabernacle is in Yehovah's face? We're meeting with Yehovah face to face, if we're going to use that wording. Are we not? Before Yehovah's face is where we're going to kill it. Look at what he says. Oh, I got to talk about this without blemish. We talked about it last week, but we got to remember this. The word that we're talking about here is tamim. Look what it says. Entire, integrity, truth. Everything after truth, where it says dash, then it says without blemish, complete, full, perfect. It's how it's translated. That's all it's saying is how it's being translated by the other translators, specifically King James. It's not part of the definition. We do this all the time to ourselves. Well, look there, Michael, it says without blemish. No, it doesn't. It says entire. We're talking about the whole animal alive and well is what we're talking about. We saw, and I mentioned it last week, we talked about it last week. We talked about what it means to bring something lo mum, without defect. That's what we're talking about. And there are many verses that uses tamim and lo mum. Well, if they're both the same thing, you don't need them two words, do ya? But if you're talking about bringing it alive and whole and with lo mum, no defects, now we're talking about a different animal altogether, aren't we? If we follow this understanding about making tamim without blemish, there are some animals that will never be killed. Just because you're deformed, you can't be killed. Ridiculous. You gotta eat them. Well, we just don't understand it. Some animals are without blemish, without defect. This is what we're talking about. So let's look at it. And if a slaughter, shelemim, if his offering, his kor-vawn, is of the herd, whether male or female, zakar, nekabah, he shall bring it alive and whole before Yehovah's face, is what it says. It says he shall bring it alive. I can put that he easily. This is talking about a man of Israel. Perhaps even a ger can do this as well. It says, and he shall lay his hand on the head of his kor-vawn and kill it. Look what it says. At the door of the tent of meeting. It wants to say tabernacle again. But what is it actually saying there? Well, I guess I have to just tell you. It's ohel moed. Ohel moed doesn't say Mishkan. It doesn't say tabernacle. It says ohel, the tent of meeting. And Aaron's seed, the priests, shall sprinkle blood all around the altar. Here. And he, the man who brought the animal, shall lay his hand on the head of his kor-vawn and kill it. Here's the word that they're using for this, shakat. We're seeing already that this is a slaughter. We saw that from the very first verse. He's killing it, slaughtering it, to eat it at the door of the tent of meeting, and Aaron's seed, the priests. Now, I said sons. Let me take a look there. Yeah, this is Aaron's seed right here. So I've got it wrong. Let's do this. Aaron's seed. And Aaron's seed, the priests, shall sprinkle the blood all around on the altar. 3. And he shall bring from shelemim, his shelemim, his slaughtered shelemim. He shall bring, this is from his slaughtered shelemim. What's he going to bring? Unto Yehovah's fire, the fat that covers the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails. This is what we're going to see over and over and over again. The 2 kidneys, and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobe attached to the liver above the kidneys. He shall remove. This is the man who's doing this. He is cutting up his shelemim. He's killing it, slaughters it, shakats it, guts it. He's got to get to the fat that's in there. Got to be a messy process. This is all going on inside the court of the tabernacle. Probably we have Levites helping us with this. But it says, he shall bring it. He shall remove these things. And it says, and Aaron's seed. Aaron's seed. There it is right there. B'nai Aaron. Aaron's seed shall burn it on the altar. Shall burn it on the altar as a rising or ascending, as the rising. It's olah, as olah, a rising or ascending. Remember, it's all about what goes up when we're talking about that olah. We're talking about the shelemim, but we're saying as an olah. We're going to burn that fat as an olah. Remember the olah, everything goes up. Everything but the skin. The skin goes to the priests, which is on the wood, that is on the fire, a burning, a sweet aroma to Yehovah is what it says. Olah is more about what ascends to Yehovah as a sweet aroma. Kind of like burning incense before Yehovah. That's what's going up, the sweet aroma. Priests do that. As an offering made by fire, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. Does Yehovah smell our obedience as a sweet aroma to him, I wonder? He says, but you do not desire sacrifice, else I would give it. You do not delight in olah. Here we're talking about sacrifice. Okay? When you see the word sacrifice, look it up. It's either not going to be there, or it's going to be another word entirely. You know what it's going to be? It's going to be this word right here. S-L-A-U-G-H-T-E-R. Slaughter. That's what it's going to be. And we're talking about slaughter and olah in this particular verse. For you do not desire slaughter. Talking about the slaughtered shelemim, the meat that we're going to eat. You do not delight in olah. All the stuff that's going up to you. It says the slaughters of Elohim, not sacrifices, the slaughters of Elohim. Are a broken spirit, a broken and contrite heart. These, O Elohim, you will not despise. Do good in your good pleasure to Zion. Remember, Zion is his people, Israel's seed, the Ezra men. Build the walls of Jerusalem. Yes, still the Ezra men. Jerusalem, remember, we're talking about those who lead shalom, in peace. Then you shall be pleased with the slaughters of righteousness. It says sacrifices of righteousness also in the New King James and in the King James. Then you shall be pleased with the slaughters of righteousness. What slaughters of righteousness are we talking about? The shelemim, the olah. Well, it's the slaughters of righteousness with the olah and the whole burnt offering and the whole olah. Oh, then they shall bring bulls on thy altar. So much confusion in the English. We've got to go back to the Hebrew to really begin to see what Yehovah is saying. The Christians will use this. Yehovah does not delight in sacrifice. They don't know what he's talking about. They don't know what a slaughter is. They don't know slaughter is what we eat. They eat slaughters all the time, but they're slaughtered to other Elohim. Instead of being slaughtered to Yehovah, doing it the way he does it, they're slaughtered according to the FDA and how they command it to be done. And with them, you can save the blood. You can do all kinds of things that Yehovah doesn't want. You can let it last for days. Well, there's more that we have to understand. Unless Yehovah of hosts had left us a very small remnant, he did. We would have become like Sodom. We would have been made like Gomorrah. He says, hear the word of Yehovah, you rulers of Sodom. Give ear to the law of thy Elohim, of our Elohim. Oh, isn't that neat? Our Elohim. You people of Gomorrah. You know, he didn't give any commandments to the Egyptians, did he? Only to Israel, only to the people who left the country of their birth. To what purpose is the multitude of thy slaughters to me? Says Yehovah. I've had enough of the olah of rams, the fat of fed cattle. I do not delight in the blood of bulls, or the lambs, or of lambs, or goats. Zaon. He does not delight in the kor-vawn if they come from wicked men. Remember, it's men always who are bringing the shelemim, the mincha, the olah, and the kata'ah. The sin offering was what it's often called, but it's about repairing the breach. We're going to see that in the next chapter. Verse 6. If his kor-vawn is of the flock, okay? What are we talking about here? Here we're talking about of the herd. Now it's going to be of the flock. A male or female. He shall bring it whole, alive, and well. Here it is. If the kor-vawn is of the flock, zaon, for the slaughtered shelemim unto Yehovah, a male or a female. Whole, he shall bring it. Tamim, he shall bring it. If he brings, again, we're talking about this word here, karav, a lamb as his offering, kor-vawn, his kor-vawn, then he shall bring it before Yehovah's face. Where is that? North side of the altar, in front of the tent of meetings, aka tabernacle of meetings. But he's talking about first, look at, this is a breakdown. He's talking first here about the slaughtered shelemim of the flocks, the zaon, which is sheep and goats. But now he's talking about sheep in particular, the lamb. If he brings a lamb. Down below, he's going to talk about if he brings a goat. Verse 12. looks to me like they're doing exactly the same thing. I wonder why he repeats himself. I wonder why he doesn't just say if he brings a lamb or a sheep, or leave this verse out altogether. If he brings a lamb as his kor-vawn, then he shall bring it before Yehovah's face. And he shall lay his hands on the head of his kor-vawn and shall cut it before the tent of meeting's face. Is literally what it's saying. The tent of meeting's face. Isn't that interesting? We're talking about before Yehovah's face. Now it's saying the tent of meeting's face. Does that lead us to understand that they're both Yehovah's face? It's where he dwells, isn't it? Between the cherubim. On the mercy seat. Above the ark of the testimony. And Aaron's seed shall sprinkle its blood all around the altar. It's the man who's going to kill it. It's the man who's going to bring it. Then he, the man, shall bring from the slaughtered shelemim, but we're talking about the slaughtered shelemim, from the slaughtered shelemim by fire to Yehovah. It's fat. The whole fat tail, which he shall remove close to the backbone. The fat that covers the entrails, all the fat that is on the entrails, the two kidneys, and the fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobes attached to the liver, above the kidneys, he shall remove. This is what the man who is bringing it, the man who's slaughtering it, the man who's going to eat it with his family, his friends, is bringing to Yehovah. It's fire. The fat, primarily the fat, is the things that he's bringing. He's sending it to Yehovah as a smoke, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. This literally says, then he shall bring from the slaughtered shelemim. The slaughtered shelemim. The shelemim slaughtered. Slaughtered shelemim. The slaughtered shelemim makes more sense to me. It says, he shall remove. So he brought all the fat. It says, and the priest shall burn it. And the priest shall burn it on an altar as food. Oh, look at what it says, you guys. The priest shall burn it on the altar as food. A fire to Yehovah. Burn it on the altar as food. Is this Yehovah's food? Is this olah that's going up, the sweet aroma to Yehovah? Is it Yehovah's food? How interesting. Is that what he's saying? It appears to me that he is. Let's keep that thought in mind. I think we're going to see it again. I love how he continues to reveal things from his word as we dig deeper and delve deeper into our understandings. Understanding before Yehovah, then understanding before Yehovah's face, then understanding before the tabernacle's face. So much to be seen, so much to be understood. And if his offering is a goat, his kor-vawn is a goat, then he shall bring it before Yehovah's face. And he shall lay his hand on the head and on its head and kill it before the tent of meeting. And Aaron's seed shall sprinkle its blood all around the altar. Let me look at some of these. Shall bring a kor-vawn before Yehovah's face. Kill it. Have you noticed who is doing all the killing? Yeah, the person who does the killing is the person who is doing the eating. It's the man. It's always the man. There's no ladies here. A woman can't bring a shelemim. A woman can't bring an olah. A woman doesn't bring a sin offering. A woman doesn't come before the face of Yehovah. Her man does, or should. And he shall bring from his kor-vawn a fire to Yehovah. What should he bring? The fat. Same thing, the fat that covers the entrails. All the fat that is in the entrails. You know what? I did notice there is one difference. Look what it says up here. Okay, here it is right here. Talking about the difference between the lamb and the goat. Maybe this is it. Look what it says. It says, and he shall bring the slaughtered shelemim by fire to Yehovah. What shall he bring? Or he shall bring from the slaughtered shelemim by fire to Yehovah. Yeah, bring from. Why do I have that? And he shall bring from the slaughtered shelemim. Look what he's bringing. The whole fat tail. The whole fat tail. Does sheep have a different kind of tail than the goat? Maybe the sheep does. Sheep doesn't have to, you look at a goat. Doesn't have a lot of hair. Sheep has a lot of hair. Maybe there's a difference in their tail as well. What is the tail used for? Mainly to chase away the flies, the bugs. But in this one, it says the whole fat tail. Over against the bone, he does turn it aside. The whole fat tail, the whole fat tail. Notice it doesn't say that down here, does it? And he shall bring the fat that covers the entrails. All the fat. Are we still on the same thing here? The goats, yes, we are. All the fat that is on the entrails. The two kidneys and the fat that is on them by the flanks. And the fatty lobes attached to the liver above the kidneys. He shall remove. It says almost exactly the same thing, but the only difference is the tail. Interesting. I didn't see it until just now. And the priest shall burn them on the altar as food. As food. As lechem. The same thing we were talking about before. Isn't that interesting? As lechem by fire. A sweet aroma. All its fat to Yehovah is what it says. All its fat to Yehovah. Last verse. This shall be a perpetual statute throughout your generations and all your dwellings. You shall eat neither fat nor blood. Interesting. Are we still doing it? Are we Israel? Is the question really? Israel does it or should? Well, we always forget Yehovah never gave his commandments to any of the Egyptians. He only gave it to Israel, his called out people. Got to become his called out people, man. Let's move on. We're now going to talk about the kata'ah, the breach. They call it a sin offering. It's all about closing the breach. There's a couple words that we need to understand. Kata'ah is one of them. And that's what this chapter is about, the kata'ah. Not the kata'ah offering, just the kata'ah. Let's stick with what it says, okay? This is the offering of the kata'ah, and sometimes they'll say that. But we're talking about the kata'ah. It's called a sin offering. But remember, this is not for just any sin. This is for unintentional sin. We're going to see it's shagagah sin. Remember, kor-vawn, which can be translated as offering, really the only word that can be translated as offering. All the other ones have better words, more descriptive words to what the word actually says. Means to draw near to Yehovah, to draw near. We want to draw near to Yehovah. We're bringing the olah because we want to draw near to Yehovah. In fact, before I start this, I want to go to Deuteronomy. No, I want to go to Exodus. Exodus 20. Look what it says in Exodus 20. This is the Ten Commandments chapter. He's talking to Moses when he talks about this. But look what he says. An altar, this is verse 24. An altar of earth, thou, masculine, singular, second person, shall make to me, and thou shalt slaughter on it all thy shelemim, thy flocks, and thy cattle. In all the places my name shall be remembered. Hear this? It's not only to Moses, because he's not going to eat all the cattle. He's not going to eat all the sheep, the flocks. In all the places my name shall be remembered. Sakar. Look what it says. This is when you build an altar. Slaughter on it thy olah and thy shelemim. He says, in all the places my name shall be remembered, I will come to thee and bless thee. Hear that? I will come to thee and bless thee. Does this sound like a bad thing, or does this sound like a good thing? It's about closing the gap. It's about drawing near to Yehovah. I will come to thee and bless thee. We offer the olah. We bring the shelemim. We bring the mincha. We bring our kor-vawn because we've been separated from Yehovah because of unintentional sin. And we've repented of it. We've made it good. And now we're restoring our relationship with Yehovah to draw near to him. That's what all of the offerings are about. Offerings done away with. Sacrifices done away with. Foolishness. We've learned lies that have kept us away from Yehovah. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob all kept the olah and the shelemim even before there was a priesthood. You don't need a priest for an olah and a shelemim. We have much to learn. Sin separates men from Yehovah, and kata'ah closes the gap. That's what this is all about. He says, speak to Israel's seed, saying, if a person, a nefesh, shall sin. This is kata. Shall sin in ignorance. Here's the ignorance. Shagaga, against any of the commandments of Yehovah, in anything which ought not to be done, and he does them. Shame on us. This is about he. If a man, if a person, it's masculine. Woman's not going to bring the kata'ah to Yehovah for her kata'ah. Kata'ah is sin. Kata'ah is restoring that. To miss the mark is one, and to close the breach is the other. It's about measuring. We're measuring according to Yehovah's measuring device, his Torah. Now, listen to what he says. This is the beginning of it, what we just covered. Speak to Israel's seed. If a person sins unintentionally, okay, person, Because it says nefesh, many of us will think, oh, if a lady sins unintentionally. No! We're talking about men. First thing we're going to talk about, the anointed priest, a man, still part of Israel's seed. Yes, he's a Kohen. Yes, he's a Levite. Yes, he's part of Israel's seed. He's all of them. Not all Israel's seed is a Kohathite. Not all Israel's seed is Levites. Not all Levites are Kohen. But this man is all three. If the anointed priest, let's talk about kata, because this is what kata, if he sins, kata, if he shall sin. So literally what it's saying here. Here's kata, a verb meaning to miss the mark, to wrong, to sin, to lead into sin, to purify from sin, to free from sin. They got a lot of religious things. Oh, folks, we just can't even hardly see all the things in here that are doctrines and traditions of men. This particular one, this is word study, by the way. I love word study. Four main Hebrew words express the idea of sin in Hebrew Bible, with this word used most often. Its central meaning is to miss the mark or fail. We missed the mark. Measured against what? Measured against Yehovah's Torah. What did he say? Against any of the commandments of Yehovah. Any of them. Comes from this word. Hem is kind of the root for this word. We're talking about missing the mark, falling short. Hem means fail. This word then is measure, action, or abstract, sin. There is no concrete noun for this word. When shooting an arrow or an object at a target, the distance that one misses is measured with the cord. The wrong actions of one are also measured against the correct actions. What are the correct actions? The righteous things that we're supposed to be doing. We didn't know. It was unintentional. I'm sorry, Yehovah. I failed. Here it says, and more precisely on this word, again, this is still ancient Hebrew lexicon in the Bible, to miss the mark, to miss the target. Whether a literal target or a goal that is aimed for, our goal that we're aiming for is what? Righteousness. To learn the things that Yehovah expects from his called out people. Shagaga. We're talking about a mistake, an inadvertent transgression. This says an error. Here's word study. That was Strong's. Here's word study. It says feminine noun meaning mistake, inadvertent transgression, error. Very similar, isn't it? This is ancient Hebrew lexicon in the Bible. The root first, talking about error. Shag. The picture of a shin is a picture of two front teeth representing the idea of double. The gimel is a picture of the foot representing carrying a burden. Combined, these mean double burden. When a work is found to be in error, the work must be redone. An error that is made out of ignorance or accident. Double work, because we got to redo it. Do it the right way. Again, here's Shagaga. He just simply says error. Then he tells us what all the other translators say. Don't confuse the definition with the way it's been translated. It gets translated wrongly very often, and we see that constantly. Next verse. So now we're talking about the anointed priest. The anointed priest, hear that? This is any priest. And all the priests are anointed. They're all HaMashiach, HaKohen, the anointed priests. Really, the priest, the anointed, is how we can look at that. HaKohen HaMashiach. That's the HaMashiach that we're talking about. A king can be a HaMashiach, but that's a story for another day. How does a king become a HaMashiach? It's in my writings. If the anointed priest is separated from Yehovah, it affects the whole nation. Yes, we got to get it right. We can't have the man who's representing Yehovah, who's putting our fat on his altar, our olah on our altar, his mincha on our altar, or our mincha on Yehovah's altar. Can't have it being offered by a man who doesn't have a right relationship with Yehovah. There's another standard of righteousness for the priest. He's got to be Kodesh Kodeshim. There's many things that the priest can't do, especially the high priest. The breach offering closes the gap. Here it says, I'm going to give you my translation on this. If the anointed priest shall miss the mark, shall sin, is what we're talking about. To bring guilt, bring shame. This is the word Hashem. We're going to talk about the Hashem offering in chapter 5. To bring shame on the people. What people are we talking about? Israel's seed. Men. Then let him bring to Yehovah his kata'ah, his breach. This is what we're talking about, closing the breach. Kata'ah. Close the breach, which he missed. The kata'ah, a young bull. Look what it says. Alive and whole. That's the tamim. For the breach, for the kata'ah. Here's kata'ah. Here's the definitions of kata'ah. Some are good, some are bad. When you go through these things, we have to look at the whole of the Torah. There's a lot of definitions out there that are religious definitions. Even with ancient Hebrew lexicon of the Bible, even with word study, especially with Strong's. I put kata'ah is a breach or shortcoming that happens between man and Elohim. When we kata, sin, when we miss that mark. I do not like any of these definitions for kata'ah. None of them demonstrate the breach between man and Elohim. They seem to just make kata'ah another name for sin. Here's kata'ah. This is word study. He just simply says meaning, sin, transgression, sin offering, punishment, an offense, bringing something for the offense, missing the target. He says sin, missing a target. Again, we're talking about kata'ah. We see in this collection of ideographs, see note 2, a picture of a knotted cord measuring the distance, the breach of the shortcoming between us and Elohim, for which he is guilty. There's the Hashem we were talking about. Hashem, guilty. Okay, verse 3. And he shall bring the bull to the door. Remember, he's got to use a bull. This man is going to use a bull. The biggest animal we have. Doesn't say about tamim, it just says whole, alive and whole. Doesn't say anything about lomum, without defect. Young bull without blemish, it says. Young bull alive and whole. And he shall bring the bull to the tent of meeting before Yehovah's face. Hear that? To the tent of meeting before Yehovah's face. Remember, we're talking about before the tent's face. Before. It's going back and forth. Lay his hands on the bull's head and shakat the bull before Yehovah's face. 2 times it says before Yehovah's face. Then the anointed priest, the HaMashiach HaKohen, shall take some of the bull's blood, bring it into the tent of meeting, not the tabernacle. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle some of the blood 7 times. Look what this says. Before Yehovah's face. In front of the veil of the sanctuary. That's considered in front of Yehovah's face also. But we can't kill it there. But he's sprinkling the blood, probably taking his finger, dipping it in the blood and putting it on the ground before that veil. What did he say, 7 times? 7 times before Yehovah's face in front of the veil of the sanctuary. And the priest shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar of sweet incense before Yehovah's face, which is in the tent of meeting. Talking about the golden altar now. And he shall pour the remaining blood of the bull at the base of the altar of olah, which is at the door of the tent of meetings. And he shall take from it, look at this, what's going to go up in the fire? And he shall take from it all the fat of the bull, as the kata'ah, the fat. He shall take from all the fat of the bull as the kata'ah. Is that what it says, as the kata'ah? I don't know that it says as the kata'ah. He shall take all the fat of the bull, the kata'ah. What is it? What fat is he going to take? Look what it says. The fat that covers the entrails, the fat and all the fat which is on the entrails, the 2 kidneys. Does this sound familiar? The fat that is on them by the flanks, and the fatty lobes attached to the liver above the kidney, he shall remove. Now I've got he shall remove. Look at this. This is so interesting. Remember, when we brought in our shelemim, we took off the fat. We removed the fat, and then the priest did it. Here, the priest is doing his own. Interesting. He shall remove all the fat of the bull, of the sin offering, of the kata'ah. Oh, I guess we're down here. As it was taken, look at, as it was taken from the bull of the slaughtered shelemim. The bull of the slaughtered shelemim. Just like we did there. You see how one chapter builds on the next chapter, which built on the one prior to it? Started in Genesis. We're building our understandings chapter by chapter, verse by verse by verse. As was taken from the bull of the slaughtered shelemim, and the priest shall burn them on the olah altar. Literally is what it's saying. He shall burn them on the olah altar. But the bull's hide, his hide, all his flesh, that's all the meat that we would eat is the flesh. Its head, its legs, its entrails, its offal, the whole bull. He shall carry outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are poured out. This is the ashes that the Kohathites are bringing out. They pile up at the east end of the altar, and they have to haul him out to this place. It's in this place where they haul him out. This is where he's going to burn up this rest of this animal. The whole bull he shall carry outside the camp to a clean place where the ashes are poured out, and burn it on wood with fire. Where the ashes are poured out, it shall be burned. Sounds a little bit redundant. Now, look what it says. It really doesn't say now. It says, and. Talked about the priest. How did he say it? Did they just say priest? The anointed priest. Talked about the anointed priest. Now we're going to talk about the whole congregation. And if the whole congregation of Israel sins, the whole assembly of Israel sins unintentionally. Shagaga. And the thing is hidden from the eyes of the assembly. And they have done something against any of the commandments of Yehovah, and any which should not be done, and are guilty. Hashem is the word that we're talking about there. And are guilty. This is the plural he. The whole assembly of Israel strays. He strays. He strays. It's the whole assembly. It's the plural he that we keep seeing all the time. What did Yehovah tell Moses to tell Pharaoh? My son, my firstborn is Israel. My seed, my son, my heir. And the thing has been hidden from the eyes of the assembly, and they have done something against one of the commands of Yehovah concerning things which are not to be done, and have been guilty. Hashem is the word we're talking about, and are guilty. When the sin which they have committed, the sin, this is when the breach becomes known, the breach, remember, it's the breach. We've created a breach with the sin. When the breach becomes known, which he sinned, kata, before the tent of Moab's face. Let's see what it says. When the breach, the breach, when the breach becomes known, which he sinned. They said they have committed. No, which he sinned. That's what it says. He sinned. Becomes known. The assembly shall bring a young bull. How does the assembly bring a young bull? It's the whole assembly. For the kata'ah. And bring it before the tent of Moed's face. The tent of meeting's face. Do you see how they go back and forth? The tent of meeting's face, Yehovah's face. So interesting. Now look what it says. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the bull. What was it? It was the man who brought it, who laid it on the hole. Now it's all Israel's seed that's bringing it. The plural he that's bringing it. But the plural he is going to be represented by the elders. How many elders are there? 12? 13? I say 13 because we got Levites, don't we? And we got 2 sons, Manasseh and Ephraim, that have been added. Joseph is removed. We got 13 right now. How many elders are there? Was the high priest involved in this unintentional sin? I think he was. Is it possible the high priest is there too? Maybe. He's one of Israel, isn't he? The whole congregation, it says. We're going to see that they're going to do exactly the same thing that the priest does. Maybe that's why. Let's find out. And the elders of the congregation shall lay their hands on the head of the bull before Yehovah's face. Then the bull shall be shakat before Yehovah's face. 2 times. The anointed priest, HaMashiach HaKohen, shall bring some of the bull's blood to the tent of meeting really into the tent of meeting. Then the priest shall dip his finger in the blood and sprinkle it 7 times before Yehovah's face, in front of the veil. Let me see what that says. Before the veil's face. Look at that. We have the tabernacle's face. Now it says before the veil's face. Before the veil's face. And he shall put some of the blood on the horns of the altar, which is before Yehovah's face, which is in the tent of meeting. And he shall pour the remaining blood at the base of the olah altar, which is at the door of the tent of meeting. Oh my goodness, you just have to relearn how to read. You can't just stick with the English. You'll go wrong every time. You got to dig deeper. It says, he shall take all the fat from it and burn it on the altar. And he shall do with the bull as they're using a bull again, aren't they? For the people, for the priests. And he shall do with the bull as he did with the bull of the kata'ah. What we're talking about above is what he's saying. Thus he shall do with it. So the priest shall make a covering for them. There's one of our polluted words in the Torah. Not atonement, a covering, a kafar. The priest shall make a covering for them. He shall do to the bullock as he did to the first to the first kata'ah bullock. So he shall do to this, and the priest shall make a covering. Here's the word we're talking about, a covering, a kafar, cover. For them, and it shall be forgiven unto them. Forgiven. Here's a cool word. Forgiven. Salak. Forgiven. Unto them. That's what it says. Unto them. Then he shall carry the bull outside the camp. Going to do exactly the same thing that we did with his bull when he sinned. Then he shall carry the bull outside the camp and burn it as he burned the first bull. It is a kata'ah for the assembly. Look at, this is what happened for both the anointed priest when he shugagad and when the whole congregation committed an unintentional sin. Young bullock without blemish. Well, young bullock, whole and alive. Whole and alive. We'll talk about blemish. Is brought to the door of the tabernacle. The priest or the elders as a representative of the whole congregation lay their hands upon the bullock. The bullock is slaughtered, shakat, killed. The anointed priest, I wouldn't even say slaughtered, I would say killed. That is because we're not eating anything. It is killed. K-I-L-L-E-D. The anointed priest takes some of the blood into the tabernacle. The priest sprinkles the blood 7 times on or near the veil. I think it's on the floor. The priest places the blood upon the horns of the golden altar of incense. The priest pours out the remaining blood at the base of the brazen altar, the altar of olah. Remember, it's all about the stuff that's rising up. That's why it's called the altar of olah. The priest burns the fat, the kidneys upon the altar. The rest of the bullock is burned outside the camp. No one eats the meat. Nobody does. Now we're going to see it's going to be different for the priest when it is a man, a common man that does it. But first we got to talk about, not the common man, we got to talk about the ruler. We have rulers of thousands, rulers of, is it 500s, hundreds and tens? The ruler who sinned can easily be one of the same rulers who laid hands on the kata'ah for the whole congregation, just in our last portion here. But there's other rulers that are in our land, among our midst. It says, when a ruler has sinned and done something unintentionally, a kata, and did something shagaga, against any of the commandments of Yehovah, his Elohim, in anything which he should not be done, and is Hashem guilty. Oh my gosh, what have I done? I can make it right. And if, what does it say here? When, it doesn't even say if, it just says, when the knowledge comes about his breach, his kata'ah. Oh my gosh, I'm separated from Yehovah, which he sinned. Then he shall bring his kor-vawn, a kid of the goats, male without blemish, for his kata'ah, for which he kata'ah, for his breach, in which he missed the mark. And he shall lay his hands on the head of the goat and kill it at the place where they killed the olah, before Yehovah's face. Ooh, it is a kata'ah. The priest shall take some of the blood. Remember, he kills it. The priest is going to catch the blood. Take some of the blood of the sin offering of the kata'ah with his finger. Now, he's not going to bring it into the tent this time. It says he's going to put it on the horns of the olah altar and pour its blood at the base of the olah altar. And he shall burn all the fat on the altar, like the fat of the slaughtered shelemim. If we don't know what happens with the slaughtered shelemim, we wouldn't know what he's talking about, would he? So these are all in a very particular order. He shall burn all its fat on the altar like the fat of the slaughtered shelemim. So the priest shall make a covering for him concerning his kata'ah, and it shall be forgiven him. Salak, him, forgiven him. If any one of the common people, now we're switching gears again. Common people. What people are we talking about? We're talking about Israel and the ger who dwell with them. That's the people we're talking about. Not the ladies. There's no ladies going in here. Probably not even talking about servants. Men. What do we call them? Avadim. The lady servants have two different names. Not talking about them. If any one of the common people sins unintentionally by doing something against any of the commandments of Yehovah, in anything which ought not to be done, remember, one law for the Ezrach and for the ger who dwell with them. We're talking about breaking one of his commandments. A woman doesn't keep Yehovah's commandments. She keeps her husband's commandments. The daughter keeps her father's commandments. The male and female servants keep their master's commandments. Man, we got a lot to learn. And are guilty. I guess I'm further along than that, aren't I? Common people. No, maybe this is where we're at. And is guilty. Hashem. Remember we were talking about, it wasn't if any. It says, it looks like it says, if any. Well, is this the same verse? 27, 28. No, see, it's not. This is 28. Let's go to 28. I'm guessing it's going to say when. Yeah, right here is what we're talking about right now. 28. When the knowledge comes about his kata'ah, his breach, his separation from Yehovah, which he sinned, katah, missed the mark, then he shall bring his offering. What's his offering? This is a man now, not an elder. The elder had to bring, the ruler had to bring a male goat. Look what this man brings. This is one of the common people. Then he shall bring his kor-vawn, a kid of the goats, a female whole for his breach, his kata'ah, for which he katah. So interesting. And he shall lay his hand on the head of the kata'ah and kill the kata'ah at the place of the olah, the place of rising. Look at that. Kill it at the place of the katah. All the other places are saying before Yehovah, before the face of the tent of meeting. Another way of saying it. He shall lay his hands on the head of his katah and kill the katah at the place of the olah. And the priest shall take some of the blood with his finger, put it on the horns of the altar of olah, the olah altar, and pour out the remaining blood at the base of the altar. He shall remove all the fat, as the fat was removed from the slaughtered shelemim. There it is again. The priest shall burn it on the altar, a sweet aroma to Yehovah. So the priest shall make a covering for him, and it shall be forgiven him. If he brings a lamb as his sin offering, he shall bring a female without blemish. So it can be a lamb or it can be a goat. Let's see if the lamb has the tail on it. Maybe that's what we're going to see again, isn't it? Let's find out. Then he shall lay his hands on the head of his kata'ah and kill the kata'ah in the place where they kill the olah. The priest, the Hamashiach, shall bring some of the blood, the HaKohen shall bring some of the blood of the kata'ah with his finger, put it on the horns of the olah altar, and pour out the remaining blood at the base of the altar. Now, let's find out what happens here. He shall remove all the fat, as the fat, here they say it, as the fat of the lamb is removed and the slaughtered shelemim. So there is a difference. We're going to have the tail. Isn't that interesting? They did address it. Not what I thought they were going to do, but it's exactly the same thing. If we don't know how they do it for their slaughtered shelemim, we won't know how they do it for here, will we? But obviously there's a difference between the fat of the lamb versus the fat of the goat. The lamb's going to use the fat tail. Then the priest shall burn it on the altar, according to the offerings, and according to the priest shall burn it on the altar, shall be covering for his breach, and he created the sin, and it shall be forgiven him. According to I'm sure it's not going to say this. He shall remove all its fat, the fat of the lamb, that shall be removed from the slaughtered shelemim. Then the priest shall burn it on the altar according to the offering. I'm sure it's going to be a fire, just a fire to Yehovah. Let's look. shall burn it on the altar. Make a covering. Yehovah's fire. Yeah, according to Yehovah's fire. Okay, good. So, this is instructions for the kata'ah, for the anointed priests and the whole congregation. We talked about that. Instructions for the priest and the whole congregation. Then we had instructions for the ruler and for the individual. The ruler brings a male goat. The individual brings a female goat. The offerer lays his hands upon his goat. The offerer slays the kor-vawn. The priest places some of the blood upon the altar of the brazen altar, the olah altar. The priest pours out the remaining blood at the base of the olah altar. The priest burns the fat upon the altar. The priest eats the meat of the offering. Did you hear that? It didn't say that yet, but we're going to see that. I don't know if it's in the next verse or if we're going to see that in the future. But this is what we're going to see, is that the priest is going to eat this. This is the priest's meat. Okay, going back. Last verse. Oh, maybe that was the last verse. Yeah, all right, that was the last verse. So we are not going to see that the priest is going to eat it. Right now, it didn't say what happened to the meat, did it? For either the ruler or for the individual. We didn't see what happened to the meat. The first two, they were burned outside the camp, all the meats. But we're going to see that the priest is going to get the meat in the future. Probably chapter 7 is where we're going to actually see that. Well, I have to stop here. This is as far as we got this week. I'm sure this is going to be a lot shorter class than I anticipated. It's still about an hour and a half, so that's good. Next week, we're going to be talking about the trespass offering, the kor-vawn of trespass. We're going to talk about the Hashem offering. So I guess the Shem and the trespass are two different things. I had forgotten that. And we may get to some of the other specifics about what happens with these offerings. There's so much more. You know, it's kind of like Leviticus 11 gives us the foods that's clean. And because we see Leviticus 11, we think, well, that's all we got to know. But we leave out Leviticus 17 that talks about how that meat is to be killed. Who's to kill that meat? There's many more things that gets us into trouble. It gets us kicked out of Yehovah's kingdom because of blood guiltiness. We don't understand it. We failed because we build our theology based on one verse and miss all the other things that have to do with that same idea. Yehovah builds on his ideas. And unless we're following this verse by verse by verse, we're gonna miss it. You know, you take those Torah portions. I don't like Torah portions. I don't do Torah portions. Don't care about Torah portions. They skim over things. They skip other things. And you never get into the meat. You got to go deeper. That's what this class is all about. I want to take you deeper. I want to develop our understanding so that we can see things that few people see. Well, hey, thank you for joining me. I was going to say for a second time. Thank you for joining me. Love you tons. See you now.